Hello everyone, welcome. Hi Amaris, thank you for joining. Or Amaris, sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Matt Christie. Shout out to Jasmine, welcome. Shout out to Ellie. Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Summer. Shout out to Amelia. You're welcome. Shout out to Raya. Shout out to Mallory. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Frankie. Shout out to Visa or Vesa. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Abhishek. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Valentina. Shout out to Matt Christie. My face is on my channel. Shout out to Jacqueline. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Armina. Shout out to, is it Fati? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Scarlett, I got you. Shout out to Harsh. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Tia, thank you. Shout out to Zoya. Shout out to Dimple. Shout out to Swella. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Briar. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Isabella. Shout out to Melexis. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Safir. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Lil Harry. Shout out to Pedro. Shout out to Natalia. Shout out to Josephine. Shout out to Zamaria. Shout out to Marcelo. Shout out to Rafaela. Shout out to Loves. Shout out to Ryan. Shout out to Jade. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sasha Lee. Shout out to Audrey. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Kira. Shout out to Miriam. Shout out to Zara. Or Zara. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Mariana and Enzo. Shout out to Tiffany. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Subscribe if you enjoy the shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. Shout out to Jay Durr. Shout out to Alonso. Shout out to Mariana. Shout out to Brenda. Shout out to Gabriella. Shout out to Blossom. Shout out to Safura. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Shaldori. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Millie. Shout out to Caitlin. Shout out to Humaira. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ellie. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Ness. Shout out to Hazera. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Audrina. Shout out to Julia. Shout out to Selena. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to, is it Matthias? Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Tanjita. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Mackenzie. Shout out to Isabella. Shout out to Matthias, I got you. Shout out to Emmy, thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Embry. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Yoncha. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Rebecca. Shout out to Catalina. Shout out to Lorena. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Moscow. Shout out to Kennedy. Shout out to Hope. Shout out to Aliyah. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Cohen. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Muhammad. Shout out to Liliana. Shout out to Leon. Olivia, I got you. Shout out to Zara. Shout out to Zara Musvi. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Jazzy. Shout out to Miko. Oh no, Nico, sorry. Nico. Shout out to Miliana. Shout out to Zanab. Shout out to Zara. Shout out to Paulina. Shout out to Rebecca. Shout out to Laura. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to these people. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. On to the next page. Thank you for being here. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Taylor. Shout out to Joshua. Shout out to Amir. Shout out to Michaela, or Michaela, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Muhammad. Shout out to Virginia. Shout out to Sabrina. Shout out to Jade. Subscribe if you enjoy the shout outs. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Azam. Shout out to Percy. Shout out to Anna's. I know I'm not the fastest in writing names, so thank you for your patience. Shout out to Liz. Shout out to Kat. Shout out to Zuri. Shout out to Kenny. I put Anna's right here. Shout out to Lady. Shout out to Jacqueline. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Camila. Shout out to Kate. Shout out to Addison. Shout out to Maria. Shout out to Liliana. Shout out to Umut. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Alondra. Shout out to Lennon. Shout out to Kenny. Shout out to Promi. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Brittany. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Umira. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Gloria Maria. Shout out to Veronica. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Noemi. Shout out to Maddie. Shout out to Kimmy. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Talia. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Sadaf. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Poppy. Shout out to Diana. Shout out to Esma. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Susanna. Shout out to Dianexi. Shout out to Srimai. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Megan. Shout out to Julia. Shout out to Linus. Shout out to Kim. Shout out to Julia. Shout out to Julius. Shout out to Sadaf. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Callie. Shout out to Sanaya. Shout out to Esma. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Campbell. Shout out to Ezel. Shout out to Isra. Shout out to Umar. Shout out to Murphy. Shout out to Ozzy. Shout out to Elsa. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Rachel. Shout out to Sinna. Shout out to Tinsley. Shout out to Rhea. Shout out to Hanya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Husna. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Rose. Shout out to Catalina. Shout out to Brinley. Shout out to Isla. Shout out to Izzy. Shout out to Georgiana. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Yasna. You're welcome. Shout out to Holly. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Kat. Shout out to Zara. Shout out to Chandler. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Cedra. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Eleanor. Shout out to Amaya or Amia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Amy. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Neptune. Shout out to Laura. Happy birthday. Shout out to Kos. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Jalaya. Or Jalea. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Happy birthday, Laura. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying my shout outs. Thank you for being here. Let's try to get to 50 likes. We're almost there. On to the next page. Shout out to these people. Thank you also for the little hearts. The little hearts on the screen. They're so cute. Shout out to Alma. Shout out to Delilah. Hi everyone, welcome. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Kim. Shout out to Torup. Subscribe if you enjoy the shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out on my channel and support. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Susanna. Shout out to Dan. Shout out to Julian. Shout out to Analia and Anila. Anila, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sophie. Shout out to Kinpo. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Manail. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. We're almost at 50 likes, only 5 more. Shout out to Amaya. I mean, 2 more, only 2 more. Shout out to Joanna. I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your name. If you show me how to pronounce it, I will try my best. Shout out to Haynes. Shout out to Julia. Shout out to Roshana. Shout out to Anaya. Shout out to Marwan. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Neela. Shout out to Daria. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Julie. Shout out to Jaylee. Shout out to Maya. Thank you for 50 likes. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Sylvia. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Rachel. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Julia. Shout out to Livia. Shout out to Amelio. Shout out to Bree. Shout out to Taylor. Shout out to Kaylin. Shout out to Jasmine. Shout out to Calvin. Shout out to Harry. Shout out to Joyce. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Amara. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to Tomas. Shout out to Isaac. Shout out to Campbell. Shout out to Yesha. Shout out to Umaira. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Caitlin. Shout out to Alan. Shout out to Romy. Shout out to Julia. Shout out to Valentino. Shout out to Wesley. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to Ozzy. Shout out to Luna. Shout out to Libya. Shout out to Sana. Shout out to Araya. Shout out to Luigi. Shout out to Gwen. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Queen Cat. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Darcy. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to, you're welcome. Shout out to Lisa. Shout out to Kavish. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Olive. Shout out to Queen Cat, I got you. Shout out to Lana, thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Romeo. Shout out to Fiat. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Lana, thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Kyla. Shout out to Danielle. Shout out to Carsey. Shout out to Rosie. Shout out to Camila. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 70 likes. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Britton. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Ekrin. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Avi. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Snow Rose. Stella, I got you. Shout out to Kennedy. Shout out to Shelby. Shout out to Ollie. Shout out to Noah. Shout out to Delta. Shout out to Rodina. Oops. Shout out to Jed. Shout out to Hansa. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Also write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Harper. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Monib. Shout out to Tuna. Shout out to Talia. Shout out to Austin. Shout out to Evan. Shout out to Irmo. Shout out to Effie. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Loof. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to, is it Didi? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Gurneet. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to these people. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the live stream. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. Thank you for being here. Okay, on to the next page. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Vanessa. Shout out to Carson. Shout out to Fairuz. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to, I'll do pink next. Shout out to Faye. Shout out to, thank you, Clobug. Shout out to Clobug. Shout out to Mimi. Shout out to Benson. Shout out to Rodina. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Saeed. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Abigail. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Boone. Shout out to Sala. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to, who's the one that said they wanted pink? I forgot who. Shout out to Liliana. Shout out to Finn. Shout out to Jimena. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Eslam. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Darcy. Shout out to Lana. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Bridget. Whoops, why did I put a G? Shout out to Bridget. Shout out to Millie. Shout out to Jade. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Siki. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Emma. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Jocelyn. Shout out to Erica. Shout out to Alana. Shout out to Theodora. Shout out to Freya. Shout out to Niak. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Erdis. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Moso. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kimberly. Shout out to EC. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Leave a like. Shout out to Erin. Shout out to Evelyn. Shout out to Marwa. Marwa Hamza. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Diana. Shout out to Carter. Shout out to Saidia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Emanuele. Shout out to Sabrina. Shout out to Susanna. Shout out to Mabel. Shout out to Essie. Sorry if I mispronounced her name. Shout out to Natalia. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Umar. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Bryden. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ashton. Shout out to Ilra. Shout out to Alexia. Shout out to Sammy. Shout out to Poyras. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Landon. Shout out to Cedra. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to Jean. Shout out to Nuria. Shout out to Zaynab. Shout out to Natalie. Shout out to Manik. Shout out to Tabitha. Shout out to Elsa. Shout out to Wellington. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Medina. Shout out to Gavin. Thank you, Erica. Shout out to Erica. Shout out to Tukra. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Talia. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. We're almost at 100 likes. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Lulu. Shout out to Maria. Shout out to Morgan. Shout out to Antonio. Shout out to Shiju. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Simone. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Rose. Shout out to Sipka. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sophie. Shout out to Mary. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Cassandra. Shout out to Wyatt. Shout out to Harper. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Hasina. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Jisoo. Shout out to Zokte. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ronaldo. I'm gonna put Ronaldo over here because it fits right here. Shout out to Kat. Shout out to Nunu. Shout out to Aileen, or Ailen. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sadaf. Shout out to Thank you, Kyle. Shout out to Kyle. Shout out to these people. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well and support my channel. I would truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Kinley. Shout out to Mary. Shout out to Nunu. Shout out to Ronaldo. Shout out to Kennedy. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Mila. Shout out to Susanna. Shout out to Apu. Shout out to Choi San. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Jesus. Shout out to Kishel. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sarah. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Eliana. Shout out to Aitana. Shout out to Taif. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Blue. Shout out to Alisa or Eliza. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Zaheen. Shout out to Keenan. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Annabella. Shout out to Kendra. Shout out to Bree. Thank you for subscribing. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. We're almost at 100 likes. Shout out to Apu. Shout out to Taylor or Tyla. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Haven. Shout out to Zaheen. Shout out to Selena. Shout out to Kendra. Shout out to Kylia. Shout out to Rose. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to May. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Kenner. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sidel. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. We're almost at 100 likes, only 2 more likes. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Timothy. Shout out to Eric. Shout out to Tully. Shout out to Cora. Shout out to Miss Time. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Blair. Shout out to Misty. Shout out to Eileen. Shout out to Milo. Shout out to Trini. Shout out to Kimberly. Shout out to Lennon. Thank you for 100 likes. Shout out to Dakota. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to Ruby. Shout out to Louie. Shout out to Valen. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Liliana. Shout out to Darlene. Shout out to Dana. Shout out to Cam. Shout out to Matthias. Or Matthias. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Hope. Shout out to Isaac. Shout out to Gloria. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Christian. Shout out to Afia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Amberly. Shout out to Presley. Shout out to Ross. Shout out to Athena. Shout out to Camila. Shout out to Lou. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Melanie. Shout out to Branson. Shout out to Mila. Shout out to Vox. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Evie. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Selena. Shout out to Conita. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Chloe. Oh no, what is that? Cole? Shout out to Cole. Shout out to Maitza. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Najwana. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Millie. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Addison. Shout out to Adrian. Shout out to Francie. Shout out to Jake. Shout out to Vincent. Shout out to Ayub. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Valentino. Shout out to, thank you, Anna. Shout out to Hope. Shout out to Finley. Shout out to Lenimiku. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Nifty. Shout out to Anna. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to these people. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. I also post other content on my channel. I hope you can check it out and support as well. Okay, on to the next page. to Simone. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Alistair. Shout out to Jamari. Shout out to Hazel. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Susanna. Bye, Susanna. Shout out to Francis. Shout out to Basil. Shout out to Ikaro. Shout out to Hindra. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Gino. Shout out to Anna, I got you. Shout out to Sally. Shout out to Rumi. Shout out to... Thank you, Anna, for your support. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Velvet. Shout out to Amanda. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Valentina. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Samantha. Shout out to Angel Does. Shout out to Kayla. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Katie. Shout out to Cassie. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Rosie. Shout out to Sarah. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Roxy. Shout out to Cassandra. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Maitza. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Jazzy. Shout out to Vacky. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Excuse me. Shout out to James. Shout out to Melissa. Shout out to Amiri. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Anne. Shout out to Jada. Shout out to Cookie. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Zammy. Shout out to Faye. Shout out to Evelyn. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Husk. Shout out to Michaela. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Martin. Shout out to Loot. Shout out to Skylar. Shout out to Barat. Shout out to Jalen. Shout out to Stephanie. Shout out to Samara. Shout out to Iman. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Mel. Lutz, I got you. Shout out to Paisley. Shout out to Abel. Shout out to Caroline. Shout out to Mimsy. Shout out to Tukra. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Megan. Thank you. Shout out to Christina. Shout out to Ronaldo. Shout out to Sua. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Oiras. Shout out to Souza. Shout out to Maddox. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Liz. Shout out to Brittany. Shout out to Carmela. Shout out to Carmen. Shout out to Georgia. Shout out to Isla. Shout out to Brianna. Shout out to Ireland. Shout out to Owen. Shout out to Caleb. Shout out to Sage. Shout out to Sherry. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the shout outs. Shout out to Janice. Shout out to Nokali. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Cecile. Shout out to Riri. Shout out to Maddie. Shout out to Fufu. Shout out to Baxter. Shout out to Kit Kat. Shout out to Violet. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Thank you, Brittany. Shout out to Samara. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Sloan. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Libby. Shout out to Autumn. Shout out to Janet or Janot. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out and support. Thank you so much for being here. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Susu. Shout out to Jaden. Shout out to Azula. Shout out to Romina. Shout out to Millie. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to Ness. Shout out to Amir. Shout out to Jolene. Shout out to William. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Anine. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Isadora. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Mason. Shout out to Ahmed. Shout out to Maya. Oh, I already put Maya. Shout out to Waverly. Whoops, I forgot the E. Let me spell it again. Shout out to Waverly. There you go. Shout out to Ash. Shout out to Zachary. Shout out to Ash, I got you. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Valerie. Shout out to Luella. Shout out to, thank you, Casey. Shout out to Casey. Shout out to Elliot. Shout out to Jada. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Carlitos. Shout out to is it Leodore? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Eladora. Shout out to Jaylene. Shout out to Paul. Shout out to Saned. Shout out to Manahil. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sher. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Estefania. Shout out to Damien. Shout out to Jocelyn. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Shrevon. Shout out to Malia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Musab. Shout out to Grecia. Shout out to Jocelyn, I got you. Shout out to Addison. Shout out to Samir. Shout out to Skylar. Shout out to Daniela. Shout out to Manail. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Molly. Shout out to Addison. Shout out to Luella. Shout out, I got you, Manayil. Shout out to Santiago. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Faith. Shout out to Christina. Shout out to Damien. Shout out to Mimi. Shout out to Addison. Shout out to sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Omaklum. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. I messed up. There we go. Shout out to Rose. Shout out to Kingston. Shout out to Kiki. Shout out to Willow. Shout out to Tabesh. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sari. Shout out to Savannah. Shout out to Honey. Shout out to Natalie. Shout out to Alyssa. Shout out to Christelle. Shout out to Ben. Shout out to Sophie. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Natalie. Shout out to Tabesh. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Rumi. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Mira. Shout out to sorry if I mispronounce your name, Nonsikalelo. I'm gonna write your name over here. Shout out to Lainey. Shout out to Jade. Shout out to Ariel. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Aviana. Shout out to Kay. Shout out to Miracle. Shout out to Melody. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Gabriella. Shout out to Avika. Shout out to Bryce. Shout out to Brooke. Shout out to Jacoby. Shout out to Alpha. Shout out to Leticia. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Alexis. Shout out to Araya. Shout out to Amira. Oh my goodness, I got that so wrong. Sorry. Shout out to Mariah. There we go. Shout out to Judy. Shout out to these people. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying my live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, on to the next page. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Hayden. Shout out to Clyde. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Ruby. Shout out to Antonia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Claire. Shout out to Nayeli. Shout out to Mija. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sojal. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Kat. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to Jesse. Shout out to Tyson. Shout out to Aubrey Gada. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Supan. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Techie. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Aaliyah. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Caitlin. Let's try to get to 150 likes. We're almost there. Shout out to Riki. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Addison. Shout out to Jaden. Shout out to Sarah. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. We're almost at 150 likes. Shout out to Martha. Shout out to Violet. Shout out to Belen. Thank you for joining. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Aliyah Bar. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Dustin. Shout out to Natalia. Shout out to Mike. Those of you dropping in, welcome. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Anira. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. We're almost at 150 likes. Shout out to Danny. Shout out to Amaya. Shout out to Marie. Shout out to Autumn. Shout out to Jason. Shout out to Orion. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Stranger Things. Shout out to Bailey. Shout out to Dorsa. Shout out to Austin. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Brittany. Give me 30 seconds. I'm gonna drink some water. Thank you so much for your patience. I was drinking water. Shout out to Amira. Shout out to Kiki. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Thunder. Shout out to Vanessa. Shout out to Alexis. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Alice. We're almost at 150 likes, only 10 more likes. Shout out to Louie. Shout out to, is it Kimmy or Kim? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Alessia. Shout out to Poppy. Shout out to MJ. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Only 8 more likes. until we get to 150. Shout out to Aria. Shout out to Ivana. Shout out to Sally. Shout out to Sonic. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Kat. Shout out to Omer. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Jesus. Shout out to, thank you, Mija. Shout out to Ness. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Only 7 more likes. Shout out to Melissa. Shout out to Colt. Shout out to Jess. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Olivia. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Rachel. Shout out to Jeff. Shout out to Hop. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Only 6 more likes. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Saima. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Kamara. Sorry if I mispronounce your name too. Or Kamara. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Nola. Shout out to Josiah. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Taylor. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to Noah. Shout out to Loknath. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Will. Shout out to, yes, Chrissy. Shout out to Red. Shout out to Julia. Shout out to Asha. Shout out to Stephanie. Shout out to Ethan. Shout out to Amber. Shout out to Cecilia. Shout out to Sunny. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Shaya. Shout out to Aria. Shout out to Donna. Or Dana. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kimber. Shout out to Julia. Shout out to Alan. Shout out to Kimberly. Shout out to these people. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out. Thank you so much for being here today. I normally I normally live stream every day. So please subscribe so you know when I'm gonna go live. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking the time to write your name. And thank you for your patience. I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.